The future's loading, watch it all begin. A brand new digital world is pulling us in.
Okay, thank you. So it's a bit weird. I'm staring at one person, and in fact, I'm looking at the whole group. So it's a bit of an odd relationship. Usually, I'm used to standing in front of big audiences. So anyway, maybe this is easier because I can't see all those people out there, and it's so nice that I have a big group. You might wonder who I am. In fact, I just thought I'd give you a bit of my bio. I'm actually a physician. I spent my life not in digital technology or security, but I spent my life actually delivering babies and doing medical stuff. But that's not the topic tonight. The topic is on passkeys. And you're probably wondering, how did that happen? Well, it happened many years ago after I retired. I just got bored with life and I was always interested in technology. And when I was part of my job when I was a physician was I started a medical technology company and was involved in patient records. So as a result, I was really interested in technology. And when I retired, I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and in Mesa, and had a great time there. But of course, I got involved in technology and computers and presenting stuff and involved in computer clubs and all that sort of thing. And then, of course, COVID came and I decided we had to come back to Canada and we left Phoenix. And on the way home, I was thinking about what I was going to do. And I knew Huey Poplick. Now, I know Huey's come and talked to you a time, but Huey, of course, Huey and I got together on a Zoom meeting and decided to plan a little show we were going to do maybe once a week for about 3 months so that seniors had something to do when seniors something to do when they through COVID. And that was 7 years ago. We still do the show every Monday. We now broadcast to 8 different countries. We have 10, we have about we have 7 people now on our team that produces the shows. We had 2 million views last year, and we have a repository on YouTube of over 2,000 shows. So I ended up changing, and now I have a broadcast job. So I do a lot, things are a lot different now than they were. So the topic today that Bob asked me to talk about is passkeys. And this is a topic that I'm sure that a lot of you have questions about, and we'll address those questions in a few minutes. Just to let you know, we are recording this event tonight, and I will be giving the link to Bob, and he can maybe put the link in the newsletter or whatever. And so if you want to go back and you want to review some of the stuff we talk about today, then that's great, and you'll have the link in it that you can go back and watch this. The 2 videos, we're going to talk for about half an hour, and I've got some videos to show you, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A, and I've budgeted in about 15 or 20 minutes for Q&A, so you can answer any questions. I'd be happy to do that. Of course, when we talk about security, we talk about passkeys. We have to talk about two-factor authentication and passwords. So there's the whole. So we'll be talking a little bit about that tonight as well. And then, as I said, we're recording this, and you'll be able to play it back. But the 2 videos I'm going to show you are already on. I produced them about a couple of months ago, and they're already on our YouTube channel, so you can watch those as well. All right, so let's talk about passwords. To start with, I want to talk about passwords. Now, I don't know does anyone have trouble remembering passwords? I mean, as we get to be seniors, we usually have problems with memory anyway. So how do you remember passwords, right? Well, some of you probably use a lot. Now, I'm not going to embarrass you, but the stats are pretty clear that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is a pretty good password. And unfortunately, we all know that's not the case. And I'm sure you've had lots of people talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Particularly, have you ever had Bob Gostisha come and talk? Bob's a security guy, and he always talks about that as well. So all I'd say is that that's not a very good password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, some of you then go and you decide that you're going to keep your passwords in a notebook or some sort of book you write your passwords down. That's like my wife does. She, after listening to me for years, she now does have a unique password for each site. and she writes it all in a book. Hopefully she doesn't lose that book, but she has them at least written down. She does a pretty good job in managing them because I'm on her case about that all the time. So you've probably been told before you should have a unique password before for each site, right? For each time you're going to log in, don't reuse your passwords, which I'm sure you all understand that and adhere to that. That's important. And then the third thing is some of you might even use what we call password managers. And these are very important. A good example would be LastPass. Password managers are great to use. The problem is as we move down, as we move up on the complexity here, only about 30% of people use password managers. Password managers are great because they will allow you to, of course, store your passwords in there, but they will also create long, complicated passwords that are very difficult to crack. So we have of course three things. We have the 1 2 3 4 5. We have writing in a book, and now we have password managers. So those are the three things that we have with passwords. But I wanted to talk a little bit today about password phrases. And I wanted to talk about something. I want to give you a little tip. I know you've had probably a lot of people talking about passwords. It's a common thing we've talked about. But I want to give you a little tip about pass phrases. Now, and I want to tell you a little story about this. So this explains how it works. So pass phrases are a rhyme that you can use, and you can make it up. And I'm going to give you an example of one in what I could use. I just made it up before the show. It's not my real passphrase, so you're not going to know that. But I'm going to give you an example of why passphrases might be helpful for you. But I want to just draw your attention to a conference I was at about 10 years ago in Mesa. And it was a security conference, and I was giving a talk there. And there was a seminar at the end where the FBI was there and the Mesa police were there. And they had a booth in a little room off the side. And they asked, and if you wanted to go in, you could go in. And what they wanted you to do and what they were demonstrating is how easy passwords are able to be hacked. So, so you went into the room and you sat down and you logged. They had a fake website, and you would go on and you would create a username and then created a password. And they gave you a piece of paper and pencil and said you could create any password you want. And I make it complicated, and you could and I wrote mine down because I made a really, really complicated password. Now, the little trick they did was they only allowed you 8 digits. All right, you could only have 8 digits. So, but I thought, man, I got a really strong password. They'll never get that. So after putting those 8 digits in, they said, "Fine, are you finished?" I said, "Yep." I said, "No one's ever gonna figure that out." Well, they had a password a password identifier software on there that the bad guys, of course, use, and it took 90 seconds to figure out my password. 90 seconds, and my password was identified. And that's 10 years ago with computer power they had 10 years ago. So 90 seconds for an 8 digit password. So when we look at why passphrases are important is because anything under an 8 digit password, a password identifier can figure those out quickly. But as you move on and you create more numbers, in other words, you go to a 12 digit or a 14 digit, or the numbers go up, then it becomes less and less likely that the passwords will be broken. And particularly once you get over 12 or 14, the bad guys just don't have computer power that powerful enough to figure those out. So the moral of the story here with passwords is longer is better. Okay? Is everyone with me there? But the problem is the longer they are, they're harder to remember. So that's why pass keys or pass phrases are so important. And let me give you an example. What was the one that I just did before I did? Right. So I made up a little passphrase. I have two daughters. Her name is Jennifer and the other is Leslie Ann. So my passphrase that I made up for this demonstration is this, and I made this up. And you could do this as just an example. Don't get on my case about the specifics, but I just made this up as an example. So my passphrase could be this. My sons, Jennifer and Leslie Ann, like Microsoft. Okay, it could be Google, it could be whatever service you're going to use. You could put that in as the last word there, right? So it could be LastPass, it could be Microsoft, it could be Google. So da 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 da, and that would the only change in that would be, so you'd always remember it, because if you want to log in, you would always say the same thing. But there would be one word at the end, and my middle name is Thomas, and this would be a fixed word, and so you could put T small HOMAS. You could put the number 2 behind it and the exclamation mark. And that would mean that you had a capital and then you had an extra character in there, because most passwords require that now. And if you added up the numbers on that, that's a 42 character password. 42 characters. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you, there is no computer alive today that could generate enough power to crack a 42-digit password. It's not possible. So very simple. So pass phrases are something that you can use that's super simple. You can figure it out yourself. You don't have to use your kids' names. You could use items or whatever you have, but something that would be real easy to remember, because what we're trying to do is give more characters. Because the bad guys are going to just knock off the 8 below, because they don't have the computer power to do more for more numbers. Okay, so that's the story. Is passphrases is something you might have heard about before, but I think that's important. But having said all that, if you're relying on passwords as security protection, you are really lacking. It is bad news, because the bad guys today, don't brute force you. They simply do phishing scams, and they get you to give your password up. And that's where we are today. Most of the ways passwords are leaked are phishing scams, or people hacking in to companies that have your passwords. So they're harvesting your passwords rather than using computer power to generate those passwords. So the easiest way and the most commonly way people are compromised now is through phishing attacks, and that's tricking you to get your password. Now, you may sit there and you may think, there's no way in the world. I'm a smart person. You probably got a really good techie in your club, and they're really smart, and you're going to say, I will never be phished or never be hacked. The taller you are, the harder you fall. Trust me. And at the same conference I was at, got to tell you a little story. There was a guy there that was talking, and he wrote a number of books on security. He was there giving a talk like I am today on passwords. His wife decided to come with him, and she was a quilter, and she didn't like this techie stuff. So she went to the big quilt. I don't know if there's any quilters in the crowd, but she went to a quilting convention, and there was a big one in Phoenix, and it was about 10,000 people there. Now, at the quilting convention, the big thing about this particular one was they gave away goodie bags. And when you left, you got this bag, and when you opened it up, you just got about $100 worth of stuff. So she went there, and she was at the quilting conference while this guy was talking. And when she left, she got her little bag. Now, the conferences always have trouble getting people to donate to this goodie bag, right? So what happened was to the conference delight, advertising company phoned them prior to the conference, said, by the way, we will give you 10,000 flash drives, USB sticks with SanDisk or whatever we call them, and we'll give you these, and you can just put them in your goodie bags, and we don't want anything for them. We'll give it to you free of charge. Just do some advertising for us. So she was delighted. She got this. She didn't tell her husband really. She didn't really look at the bag till they got home. Now you got to remember this. This is the top security guy. I can't remember if he was with the FBI or police. But he was a big shot, you know. And so he was off doing his work through the day. His wife goes down to her sewing machine and she pulls it out and she says, I'm going to store my information on this memory stick that I got. She plugs it in, and of course, guess what? There was a key logging software on there, and that infected the whole system. And that, of course, collected all the passwords and sent them to the bad guys. So this is a fellow that's an expert. He's given a talk, and he got compromised. So everyone is going to get compromised at one time or the other if you're just using passwords. So that's the side about that. So please, we're going to move on now, and I want to just give a quick talk about two-factor authentication, because that's the next phase in which, in order to stay safe, you need to, of course, have a strong password, but you also need to use two-factor authentication. Now, the talk today isn't about two-factor authentication. We could go on and on about that, but the most common question I get asked about two-factor authentication is, what two-factor authentication app should I use? And there are a whole bunch of them out there, and I always get asked, what's the best one to use? It's a very good question. Now, and we can talk a little bit in Q&A if there's any specifics about two-factor authentication you want to know about, but the answer to that question really depends. It mostly has to do with mobile. If you've ever been taking your phone and you're in Walmart and you're standing around and you want to maybe log into your Google account and maybe look at some stuff before you buy, maybe you have a little note, maybe you have let's say a grocery list, and you want to look at the grocery list, and it's in your Google account, and you go to log into your phone and it says, what is the code? What is that 6-digit code? Well, just think about it now. Then you have to go and you have to open another menu up. You then have to get the password from that menu, 6 digits now. You're in a busy Walmart store. Can you remember 6 digits? Like, I can't. I have a hard time. I probably could at one time remembering those 6 digits, but then you have to move from that app, which gave you the 6 digits, and you've got to go back into the other menu and put it in to your Google account and put those 6 digits in. Well, since I can't remember them, then you'd have to have a pen and paper, and you have to write this down. And can you see this all in a busy Walmart store where people are coming back and forth and running around? So the answer to that question is, if you let's say you use LastPass, for example. LastPass has a password authenticator app that's built into LastPass. So not only will LastPass autofill your password, it'll autofill the second factor for you. So it's just a matter of boom, 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 and it's in and it's gone. So the point that I'm trying to make is, it depends on what hardware you use, what software. If you're an Apple person, a Google person, a Microsoft person, depends on what you do. You may want to if you're looking for an authenticator app, look for an app that will help you make mobile work a little bit easier, and maybe make that second factor easier to get into your mobile device. That's my only comment that I have about that, although we can talk about that a little bit later. Now, and two-factor authentication's been around for, gosh, I think maybe 15 years. It's not a new technology. It's just there, and you should be using it. If you're not, then, well, I don't know why you wouldn't. It's certainly pretty easy to use, and everyone should be using two-factor authentication. But, all right, so now we're going to move on and say, okay, Ron, that was still not that easy. There's still some stuff we got to do here. So as technologists, what we came up with are passkeys. We said, look, we understand passwords are a hassle. We understand that two-factor authentication, still people don't like that. We're going to create something so simple that anyone can use it, and that's going to be passkeys. It's the simplest thing that is going to be available for you now, and it's going to solve all your problems. right? That's okay. All right, right. So that's good. So now that brings me into the first video and the reason why we're having problems with passkeys, and I'm sure you'll have lots of questions about passkeys. So let me play the first video for you, and then we'll have a little chat about that, and then I have a second video that'll make it a little easier for you. So let me see if we can get this video playing. Let's just share this.
The future's loading, watch it all begin. A brand new.
Okay, so let's talk about a piece of tech that was supposed to save us all from password hell. You know what I'm talking about. Passkeys. They were meant to be the future, but for a lot of us, they've just become a brand new kind of headache. So, why are they failing?
I mean, if you've ever found yourself just staring at that sign in with a passkey button and feeling, I don't know, a mix of confusion and annoyance, you are not crazy, and you're definitely not alone. The promise was so simple, right? A seamless one-tap login. But the reality has been, well, a mess. What went so wrong? We're going to break this down like a detective story. Really look at the evidence. First, we'll revisit the problem they were trying to solve. Then, we'll look at their totally confusing arrival on the scene, the real-world frustrations, why our own human nature is getting in the way, and finally, what it's actually going to take to fix this.
All right, so let's set the scene. We all get the password problem. It's this endless, low-level stress in our digital lives. They have to be complex, but we can't remember them. They have to be unique, but we have hundreds of them. Passkeys were supposed to be the hero that finally broke that cycle.
And here's the fundamental difference, the big idea. A password is just a secret you know. And, secrets could be stolen, they can be forgotten, but a passkey, it's a combination of something you have, like your phone, and something you are, like your fingerprint or face. It's this super secure key that's almost impossible to steal. On paper, it's just better.
Okay, so if the tech is so much better, where did it all go off the rails? Well, our investigation starts with clue number 1, the rollout, or more accurately, the complete lack of one.
And that's really it. For most people, this new option just appeared. You went to log into a website like you always do, and suddenly, there it was. No explanation, no hey, here's a cool new thing, nothing. It's no wonder so many of us just instinctively looked for the familiar password box. You see this explanation? This is exactly what was missing. It's not that complicated. The website holds a public key, but the private part, the real secret sauce, never ever leaves your device. That's the magic. That's why it's so secure. If only someone had told us that.
And look, this isn't some abstract problem. This is a real quote from a reader named Katz. Think about that. Even for someone tech-savvy enough to try and set them up, the whole thing was a black box that just spit out error messages. And that experience is just incredibly common. And it wasn't just us who were confused. Websites and companies have been super timid too. They're terrified of locking you out of your account if you lose your phone. But by keeping passwords as a backup, they're leaving the old security door wide open. And by making passkeys totally optional, well, they pretty much guaranteed most of us would just ignore them.
So that brings us to clue number 2 in our little investigation. The actual day-to-day experience of trying to use these things. It has been a mess of friction, failures, and just plain frustration.
Remember the dream? This is what they sold us. The idea that logging in would be as simple as touching a sensor or just glancing at your screen. Effortless, instant, secure. It was supposed to be amazing. But the reality has been this clunky 6-step dance. You try to log in on your computer, it tells you to get your phone. You scan a QR code, you use your fingerprint on the phone, and then you just wait and hope that the digital handshake between your two devices actually works. It's often way slower than just typing a password.
And I'm not kidding about the hope it doesn't fail part. A reader named Ray said passkeys failed for him 75% of the time. And not on some tiny random website. We're talking about Google, Microsoft. When the new thing is that much less reliable than the old thing, you've got a serious problem.
Now, this might be the single biggest frustration for people. The very thing that makes a passkey secure, the fact that it lives on your device, is also what makes it feel like a trap. What happens when you get a new laptop, or you want to sign in on your work computer? It suddenly feels like your login is held hostage by one piece of hardware.
This quote from Pocket Drummer just nails it. We've gotten used to password managers that work everywhere on everything seamlessly. But passkeys, they often feel like a huge step backward, locking you into one specific device and breaking that "it just works" feeling.
And then there's the whole shared account problem. Beth and David bring up a fantastic point. How is a family supposed to share a Netflix account or a bank account when the login is tied to one person's face or fingerprint? It's such a basic, real-world issue that seems to have been completely ignored.
So let's recap. We've got a confusing, unannounced arrival. And we've got a clunky, frustrating experience. When you put those two clues together, the culprit becomes painfully obvious. And it's the most predictable one in the world. It's us. It's human nature.
Let's just connect the dots here. First, you roll out a brand new technology that nobody bothered to explain. So right out of the gate, people are confused and a little suspicious.
Second, the people who do brave the confusion and actually try it, well, they often find it slower, buggier, and just plain more annoying than the thing it's supposed to replace. And third, and this is the killer, every single time this new, confusing, frustrating thing pops up, the old, familiar password box is sitting right there, just an easy click away. So what do you think happens next? And there you have it. That's the verdict right there. As Sydney Butler puts it, we humans will almost always take the path of least resistance. When you make the new path confusing and full of potholes, of course we're going to stick to the old, familiar road. Passkeys are failing because they made the new way the harder way. So the case is pretty much closed. But that doesn't mean it's a lost cause. The tech itself is genuinely good. It's too promising to just throw away. So the real question is, what's it going to take to turn this ship around and finally kill the password for good? It really boils down to three things. First, education. Websites have to actually explain what these are and why you should use them. Second, interoperability. It has to be dead simple to use your passkeys across your iPhone, your Windows PC, your Android tablet, all of it. And third, and this is the big one, reliability. It just has to work every single time. Not a 6-step maybe, but a true one-tap login. Which really leaves us with this final question to think about. The underlying technology of passkeys is really solid. It's more secure, it's clever. So was the problem ever really the tech itself? Or was it a complete failure to understand the actual human beings who were supposed to use it?
Okay, that's the problem with passkeys. Now, let me just answer a few questions. I know you're going to ask these common questions. These are common questions that I get asked. And if you look at that video, I guess I'm part of the education. I'm on the education team that's going to try and get you to use passkeys because I'm going to tell you sort of how they work and how it's not so difficult. The first thing you have to understand about passkeys is you don't create them. So you can't go to a site and say, I want to create a passkey. It doesn't work like that. Each site has their own. If a site decides, like let's say Microsoft, that they want to have passkey as an option, Microsoft will create the software to allow passkeys to be used, which means they will create their own menus, their own way you're going to log into it, their own stuff that's different than Google. And Google's going to come up and they're going to do their own thing. Same thing if you use Bitwarden and you want to set up passkeys for Bitwarden, or let's say, so they're going to set up their own way of doing it and their own menus. So it's not something. So typically when you go, let's say when you go to log into a site, maybe it's your bank or whatever, it says, hey, do you want to set up a passkey? And all you have to say yes, and then you'll follow the directions that will go along and it will set it up, and you'll go through a few little hoops to do it. And then once it's set up, you will be able to use it. But it's not something that you will be able to do yourself. It's something that the service will offer you that. And that's why the menus are all different. And it's not like using LastPass, because once you set LastPass up, the password generator and all the things work on all the different sites. Now, the second thing is that you have to understand you don't keep track of passkeys. Passkeys are great. You'll never see them. You don't have to worry about them being stored on your phone. They just appear. You don't have to manage passkeys. Passkeys are unique to the device that you have. If you have a phone, and most of you will probably be using on a phone or a PC, the passkey lives on that machine. and you don't control it. You don't have to put it in a file. You don't have to keep track. You're going to probably have lots of passkeys. I probably have 10 or 15 passkeys I use, and you don't have to manage them. You don't have to worry about that. They just appear. Trust me, it'll just happen. It'll just appear, and you'll just log on with your passkey rather than having to go through two-factor authentication and go to the app and get the number and put the number in and all that sort of stuff. It'll just happen. It's just in the passkeys will live on your device where they live. You don't need to know, and it's not something that you need to manage. But when passkeys first came out, we said that the passkey was unique to the device that you have. And that is true, except things have changed a little bit. And that I know that Bitwarden and LastPass now, you can store your passkey in those password managers. And that means that passkey can be used on multiple sites. So it's not unique to the device, it's unique to the password manager. Now that's not a lot of people use that, but it is available and you can do that. Now I would say that in my experience, most of the time when I set up passkeys, I don't have any trouble. They work just fine and they make my life a lot easier. So my experience is pretty good. So I'm interested in the Q&A to find out about what your experience is about that. Now, I've got another video that we can play now that sort of goes through the step-by-step, so how to create this. So let me play the next video for you. You're not alone. Let me start by saying this right up front. If passkeys confuse you, you're not bad with technology. You're not behind, and your computer is not smarter than you. In fact, if passkeys don't confuse you, I'd like to know your little secret, because this is one of the most poorly explained changes in modern technology. Today, we're going to slow it down, no jargon, no pressure, and absolutely no quiz at the end. So take a deep breath, and you'll be right in. Why passwords drove us crazy? Remember when we only needed one password? Then we were told that's not safe, so we needed a stronger password, then a different password, then a password with numbers, symbols, and capital letters. And apparently also hieroglyphics. So where did we go? We wrote them down on sticky notes, in notebooks, or my personal favorite, I'll remember it this time. Passwords became a mess, and hackers love passwords because passwords are easy to steal. That's why tech companies said we need something better, and that's how passkeys were born. What a passkey actually is. Here's the simplest explanation you'll hear anywhere. A passkey is proof it's you, not something you have to remember. Think about your face. If I open my front door and see you standing there, I don't ask for a password. I recognize you, and that's what passkeys do. Your face, your fingerprint, or simply a device PIN. No typing, no remembering, no guessing, which is great because my brain forgets why I walked into the kitchen, why passkeys feel so confusing. Now, here's the part nobody tells you. Passkeys are a good idea, but they are explained terribly. They have different screens, different words, different prompts. Sometimes it says, use your device. Sometimes it says, sign in with passkey. And sometimes it looks like something completely different. Same idea, different wording. That's why people panic. And when people panic, they click the wrong thing. So if you've ever thought, why does it feel harder than it should? You're absolutely right. Here are two very important things you need to understand in order to create a passkey. The first is you cannot create a passkey if the service you're connecting to doesn't offer it. Passkeys are created by the service that you want to create, such as your bank account, maybe your PayPal, Amazon, Microsoft. These services all have a password service available for you. If your bank does not have a passkey service, then you cannot create a passkey for your bank. So this is important that you understand that you cannot create a passkey. The passkey is created in the service you're logging onto. And the second is passkeys live on your device, your phone, your tablet, your computer, not floating around the internet. Think of your device as a key ring. It holds the keys. Your brain does not. And the aha moment, once you understand that, everything else makes more sense. And suddenly passkeys stop feeling so scary. And that's also why they're so different for each service, because it depends how that service wants you to create a passkey. So the menus are different. Sometimes the terminology is different. And that's what makes passkeys confusing. What happens when you log in? Let's walk through what actually happens. You go to a website. The website says, "Are you really you?" Your device jumps in and says, "Let me check." You look at the screen or touch the fingerprint sensor or enter your device PIN number in. And that's it. You're in. No password typed, nothing for hackers to steal, which makes hackers very sad. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Let's talk about the worries. What if I lose my phone? You can recover your account. You're not locked out forever. You can simply log in on another device and delete the passkey from your account. Do I have to use passkeys? No, you can use two-factor authentication or passwords still with your account, and in addition, you can use passkeys. So on your Google account, you might have all three set up. Are passwords going away? Well, not yet. You can still continue using passwords, but my advice is if your service does offer a passkey, then I would use it. And then you don't have to worry about passkeys and delete your old insecure password. Are passkeys a safe ride? And the answer to that is yes. They're certainly safer than passwords. But you don't have to rush into this. You can certainly take this slowly. And my advice is to set it up with a few trusted services, like maybe your Microsoft account or Google account. It's real easy to do. And once you get comfortable, you can expand it out and use it with PayPal, maybe your bank, or other services that offer passkeys. Well, when should you use passkeys? Passkeys are great for important things, such as email, banking, shopping accounts. Start with one, just one, and build up some confidence. And if something feels uncomfortable, just stop. And remember, technology should work for you, not the other way around. I think you'll find this very easy to do, and you'll be surprised how simple it is. I used to have to go through so many steps to get into my PayPal account. Now I simply go there and click the passkey button, and I'm in. Super simple, and it really cuts down on the headache of logging in. I'm sure you're going to like this once you get used to it. But remember, you can't create a passkey if the service doesn't offer it. So the service will often say when you log in, do you want to create a passkey? It's not something you can do if the service doesn't offer it. That's an important point to remember. Wrap up. I think you've got it. Let me leave you with this. Confusion does not mean failure. This is a new feature, and new things might take time. If you survive setting the clock on a VCR, you can handle passkeys. Go slow, ask questions, and remember, you've got this, and we're always here to help. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior, making passkeys easier for seniors. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you soon. Okay, now What we can move into the Q&A now, but I'll just give you an anecdotal thing. This last year, PayPal got passkeys on their site, and I use PayPal a lot. Most days I'm in my PayPal account, and I always in my office here, I left my phone upstairs. It was always I couldn't. I had two-factor authentication set up on it. It was always a pain in the butt. I had to go find my phone, or it just and it was always a hassle. And passkeys on PayPal is so simple. It's just one button and I'm in. I love it. I just love it. And you will too. And my advice is I said, choose one or two services, just get comfortable with it. Choose maybe Google, maybe Microsoft, PayPal, whatever. Just choose one or two and get used to it. Once you get used to it, you'll get the fear will go away. Now, having said that, the perennial problem that we have with passkeys is the fact that no site has been bold enough to say we're going to take away passwords, right? So all the sites let you choose between passkeys or passwords, and that is the problem. And even Microsoft, Google, they all still allow you to use passwords. Nobody's bold enough to say, hey, we just wanted passwords to go away. And I don't know what the future of that's going to be, because it really, until those passwords go away, it's still an option, and we're never going to get very far with this. But for sure, it's very secure, and I would strongly encourage you to give it a try. Okay, let's open it up now to any questions. I'm open to questions, and that's anything you want to talk about, two-factor authentication, passwords, or passkeys. Just let me know, and I need the questions repeated because I don't think I'll probably be able to hear them. But if you let me know.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I'll repeat it.
Can you hear me?
I'll have to repeat the question. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. My question is, if you use your laptop and create a passkey for the website, and then you need to log in with your cell phone, do you need to create a second passkey on the cell phone?
Yes, yes. Your passkey is in general. Now there is an exception in that there recently, if you have LastPass or if you have Bitwarden, you can store your passkeys in the password manager. But let's just go back to the way passkeys originally were set up. Yes, you need a passkey for it's based on the device. But remember, it doesn't matter because you don't know where it lives on your PC. You don't care. It will just automatically come up and it'll be there for you, right? You don't need to know where it is. You don't need to keep track of them. You can have 10,000 passkeys on your computer, just tiny little files. You don't need to know anything about them. It will just pop up and it will work. Okay. So it's not like you have to keep track of anything. Oh, did that answer your question? Is that okay?
Hello, okay, this is crazy, but I assume the passkey is like a Face ID or fingerprint, right?
I can't hear.
She said she assumes the passkey is like a fingerprint or a Face ID.
Yes. In order to have so if you have your phone with you, then you would need to either let's look at the options you have. On your phone, you'd have Face ID, which you'd find. Face ID is all you need to access your phone. If you have a pin on your phone, that works too, or a fingerprint. And so it depends on because these usually live on mobile devices. So if you do that, it doesn't matter. Any of those those will all be for you. Those will all be your codes to get in. And once you're in, then the passkey just works.
My question is, kind of morbid, I guess, when you die and your executor needs to get into your accounts and it's a Face ID and what do they do? I guess they need to know your password, which is fine, but if they haven't given a password, then they're lost.
The question is when you die and you're using either face identification or fingerprint, and the administrator of the account, the executor of the account, what do they do then to be able to handle the accounts?
That's a very good question. That is a very good question. I think that and that's that's very interesting. You have to think about that one. At present, of course, we do use passkeys, but we already have passwords with two-factor authentication, and that would be probably one of the options that you would have. Um, but you're still going to need that authenticator app on your phone, and you're going to need to get into the phone to get the authenticator app codes, right? So it isn't, we have to sort of plan that out. Now, if you had LastPass and you had Bitwarden, you would have the option of storing the passkey in those vaults and Bitwarden and passkey. So if you had those two, then you'd have that option to have it set up. But I think we're past the stage now where you're just going to be able in your will to say, these are the passkeys to my sites, because most people will have two-factor authentication turned on. So that's not going to work. You're going to need the other part of that.
Ron, can everybody hear me? Ron, my answer to that question is that you just have to be sure and cut off the fingertip of your spouse.
Yeah.
And they pass away.
Yeah. True.
I've often been in rural areas and have not had good internet access. Even here in Sun City, I get an interruption, maybe only for 10 seconds, maybe for an hour. What happens when people are in places where there's not either internet connectivity or when there's not cell tower connectivity, which is even a worse situation? My sister's in an area that only AT&T works. So any of us visiting her cannot use Verizon, cannot use T-Mobile. So how are passkeys handled when we're visiting somebody and we want to contact a bank?
Well, so that's a good question. Thank you for asking that. And I heard it and I understand your concern. But let's think about it for a minute. The passkey actually lives on your phone. You don't need an internet connection to use your passkey. So it lives on your phone. Once you log into your phone with either your thumbprint, Face ID, or or PIN, then you will be in your passkey resides on your phone. The problem is, if you're not connected by internet to what are you going to use it for? If you're not connected to the internet, then you won't be able to get into your bank, or you won't be able to get into any of those services. So I don't know what service you would use it on if you don't have a connection to what you want to log into, because that's all in the cloud, right? So I don't know what that would be. And maybe if you could give me an example to that, because your bank, you'd need to be able, if you want to log into your bank, then you would have to be on an internet connection, right? But the passkeys do reside on your phone. That is actually this is another thing that's important, is that when you travel and you go to different parts of the world with different time changes and all that sort of stuff, it becomes more of a problem if you're using two-factor authentication, or if you're getting codes sent to you. This is a huge problem. Or if you change SIM cards. We used to always teach in courses. I did a travel course on technology for traveling, and we always used to teach about buying local SIM cards. Put a local SIM card in your phone when you get to France. It's cheap. You can pop it in there. But when you put a local SIM card in, your phone number changes. And when you go to the bank and the bank sends you that, they don't use the app. They don't use the two-factor authentication app. They send you a, guess what, text message with the code. And that goes to the phone number that you don't have anymore on your phone. So it creates it's a huge problem, and passkeys get away from that, right? It's another way that it solves that problem. But if you are traveling now and you're doing international traveling, don't do local SIM cards. Most of the big services now offer really good international packages, and you want to keep your same number. You really get messed up with that. You won't be able to get into your bank. So be careful with that. But passkeys wouldn't be that problem. You wouldn't have that problem.
Another question. I understood you to say that passkeys are set up by the site. You don't have to do anything. But when I tried to use one, the site asked me, what authenticator app are you using? So now I have to download another app called an authenticator app in order for the passkey.
That should not, I don't, authenticator apps only are used in two-factor authentication. They have absolutely nothing to do with passkeys. Then they're totally different technologies. Let me just explain how passkeys actually work. There is, and you don't need to know this, but this is sort of, it's pretty easy explanation. How a passkey works is this. There's a public key and a private key. And when you sign up for a service, let's say you're going to do, let's do your bank. Let's say your bank has it and you decide to sign up with a passkey with your bank. So the bank would create a public key, which it would have, and it would create a private key, which you have on your phone. Okay. Now, how does this work? What the private key is, it's the solution to a complex mathematical task. The public key is the question. So if someone hacks into the bank and they steal your public key, it isn't going to do any good because they won't know the answer to the question. And so when you go log into your bank, the bank says, all right, are you really you? And it's going to send a request to your private key, and it's going to ask for this complicated math question to be done. And that the question is so complicated, you would need 10 all the supercomputers on the whole planet Earth doing all this computing skill to answer this question. No one could do it. But you can do it because you have the answer, right? In other words, you know that your private key actually is the solution to the question. And immediately your private key sends the answer back to the public key, which is in your bank, and it says, okay, I know who you are and you can come in. And that's how it works. Now, two-factor authentication's totally different. Two-factor authentication has been around for a long time, but the Authenticator app, which is just a random number generator. And they've been around. I remember 40 years ago when a friend of mine had a bank account in Singapore, and he came back from Singapore and he had a little digital fob that he kept in his pocket, and it just generated random numbers. And he said, this is really interesting. If I lose this, I have to go back to Singapore to get another one. But he said, this is how I get into my bank. I just log into my bank and it asks me what the number is, and this just keeps turning out these numbers, and you put it in and it gets in. So what happens with the second factor authentication app is when you pair that to the service that you go to your bank and you say, your bank says, yeah, I want two-factor authentication, is that it starts the timer. This is just a random two-factor authentication. Apps are just random number generators. And the only thing it does is when it syncs it and starts it. So your app on your phone and the bank start exactly at the same time. So those numbers will always be the same. The bank knows the numbers, and on your app, it's just a random number generator. I often do this when I do shows. I'll hold my phone up and here's all my passwords. Here's all my on my app. I use the app called Authy, A-U-T-H-Y, and you can see all the random numbers. And I said, here, look at them all. Well, they're only good for 30 seconds, right? They all keep changing, right? And that's what it, but they're totally different. Passkeys and two-factor authentication are totally different things.
We have a question up here.
Well,
Just one more.
Is he getting fished from a fake website if they're asking for his authentic?
I have no idea. It should not, unless it could be, I don't know. That's a programming error in whatever service that you were doing. It has nothing to do, unless LastPass is doing something weird in that. I don't, unless there's something dependent, I don't know how that would occur. It should, because they're totally different.
question, how can I and my wife have used the same passkey on different computers?
You know, that shouldn't be a problem. I know in the video we put that in there, but it really shouldn't be a problem. I mean, when your wife logs into the account, she could set up a passkey that would reside on. Now, are you talking about she has her own computer and you have your own computer, or are you talking about the same
Yeah.
computer?
We each have a computer.
Yeah, she would just have her own
We both
passkey.
go into the bank.
Yeah, not a problem. She just, when she logs in on her computer, she would create a passkey and it would be on that computer, and on your computer you'd log in and you'd have your passkey on your computer. It shouldn't be a problem. Same as Netflix. If you had different, it's like people log into Netflix and they have different accounts on Netflix. You could easily do that. It shouldn't be a problem. Because the passkey would just stay on her computer and your passkey would stay on your computer.
Another question over here.
Right. If you set up passkeys for all of your accounts, in case something happens, aren't you still vulnerable to, attack, hacking?
Now, I didn't hear the question. Is the question, how do you transfer passkeys from one phone to another if you had a new phone? Is that the?
You leave passwords on your device so you can get back in if you need to with the two-factor authentication. Can't somebody still hack you?
Yes. You see, that's the problem is if you have an insecure password and you go and create, and they leave the service that you're using. Let's just say this is a bad example, but let's say your bank used passwords, right? And your password was 1234556, right? You then go and you create a passkey, which is great. Nothing's going to get hacked on that. But none of the services yet have had the nerve to shut off passkeys or to shut off passwords. So your insecure password would still be there. So you still need a strong password with two-factor authentication on there. And in fact, on my Google account, I have, of course, two-factor authentication set up, but I use passkeys all the time. I don't use that. But you can use, but they both are sitting there, and my password is protected by two-factor authentication. It's just easier for me to use passkeys and more secure as well. But what to do with the insecure password is a huge problem with passkeys. And I don't know how we're going to solve that problem, because nobody has the guts to say no more passwords. That would just make your support team go crazy, right? Because everyone's going to be, how are we going to do this? So I don't know the answer to that. Sorry, I don't have the answer to that. But I would really encourage everyone to give it pick one or two. If for sure, if you have PayPal, do it on your PayPal site, because it is so easy and it makes my life so much easier. Try it on one or two services and you'll find you'll like it. It actually works pretty cool.
I have fingerprint access to my bank account, which I assume is the passkey methodology. And I lost my cell phone and it was destroyed. And I got a new cell phone. I downloaded the app for the bank, and I didn't have to reset my fingerprint access. So if you said it was on my device, how come I didn't have to do it twice?
So, I mean, if you lost your cell phone, then it would be, I guess the first question I do when you lost your cell phone, I would log into my bank on my PC and just delete the passkey for your cell phone, and boom, it's gone. And then when you get a new phone, just create another passkey.
But his question was that he lost his cell phone,
Yeah.
and he did not have, when he got a new cell phone, he didn't have to actually put the passkey back in. It automatically got picked up by the new cell phone.
Oh, did it? Okay, great. Great. The other thing that happened is I've had to set up some new phones this year, and the question is, can you transfer passkeys from one phone to another, you know? And the answer is yeah, the passkeys, they can do that too. It actually happens in the transfer. Do you want to transfer the passkeys over? And yes, and boom, it does it. It's sort of cool. It worked out real easy.
We had two phones stolen at separate times, and so when you say it's great, the passkey's still there, my question's going, whoa, I don't understand this happening. I guess my husband and I each enter using pins on our phone. Pins on our phone are only 6 digits. Don't the bad guys figure out 6 digits really fast?
No, because the pin is only on your phone. The pin is just accessing your phone. It's your device. Your phone is the passkey. Think of your phone as the key. It is your physical phone is the key. It's not your pin number, it's not your face, it's not your finger. It's your phone. And it's the passkey resides in the phone. Okay. And all you're doing when you do facial ID or fingerprint, it's all local. It's only on your phone. So when you put your PIN number in on your phone or you put your face, whatever, you're just putting it in locally on the phone. Okay. So think of it like that.
My phone has been stolen and somebody sees I have PayPal app on my phone. So you're saying that first they get into the phone. Once they get into the phone, can they use my PayPal app that's on my phone?
Well, so if someone stole your phone, then they would have to get into your phone somehow. So your phone they would have to have your Face ID, which they can't. They would have to have your fingerprint, they can't, or they would have to have your PIN. Otherwise, it's locked out. If you unlock your phone somehow illegally, or if you turn off that security feature on your phone, your password system goes dead. It won't work. You can't retrieve it. It won't work at all. So you must have those features on for passkeys to work. As soon as you turn that off, same as if you use a Google Wallet. If you use Google Wallet or any of the Apple Wallet or any of those, as soon as you turn off that security feature, they go dead. You can't access them. It's all encrypted. There's nobody going to be able to look at it, right? So that is, and the nice thing about passkeys is that if you lose your phone or someone steals it, if you just log into your account on another device, you can easily just immediately delete that passkey, which makes it ineffectual. But it shouldn't, the whole lost phone thing or stolen phone thing is, they can't get into the phone because they won't know, they can't do your face, they can't do your fingerprint, and they won't know your PIN number.
You're up.
Okay, I'm missing something. It's going right over my head. I've used Passkey, Microsoft on like 3 or 4 different things. You keep saying passkeys, plural. I'm just using one number. So is when you have passkeys, are they just one number? Or is it a different number for every, like the bank would be one and my cell phone would be another number?
No. So when you're logging in, when you're logging in to your computer and you're using a PIN number, right? You log in, is that correct? You log in with a PIN number to your computer?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is only for that computer, that device. The passkey resides on the computer. The physical computer you have in your office, that is the passkey, not that 4-digit PIN that you put in to log into Microsoft is just a way of accessing it. On that PC, on my PC, I bought a fingerprint scanner. So I use my fingerprint to log in. It's hard. I don't think you can do facial ID on PCs. That's pretty hard, right? But on a phone, you could do all those. But the passkey resides on your actual device. So it doesn't matter if you log into your bank on another device like your phone, it creates another passkey. But you don't have to know anything about that because it's not going to, you don't have to know where it is or what it is, or there's no numbers associated with it. As long as you have that device, and as long as you open that device up with either your Face ID, your thumbprint, or a PIN number, that means it's you. That's how it identifies you as the person. And the passkey, which is the phone or resides on the phone, it does the work behind the scenes and will link you into your service.
So can the bad guys use a program on your phone? I only have a 4-digit in on my phone. Can the bad guys use a program to plug into my phone if they steal it and crack that code?
Sorry, I didn't quite.
The question was, can the bad guys get into his phone? He only uses a 4-digit code, and can the bad guys crack his phone to be able to get in and use the passkey with the phone?
The 4-digit code that's on your phone would be, you only get 3 tries and you're out, right? So there's a limited number of tries on that. And I'm going to assume that if you lost your phone or the phone was stolen, you're going to deactivate your phone, right? You're going to actually kill it, or you're going to, and you can certainly do that on all phones, whether it's Samsung. That's another topic, but Samsung, Pixels, all the phones have ways of killing the phones. And you would just, if someone stole it, you would just kill it. But I don't think they're going to be able to, they're only going to get 3 tries and then they're locked out. So that's, and there are all sorts of things you can do with your phone that if it's lost, you can set up a system where if someone tries to get in 3 times, the phone's killed as well. I mean, there's lots of things you can do to negate that. But if you had a PIN number and on your PIN number was on the back of the phone, so you would remember it, you put it in big letters, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the back of your phone. Yes, they could enter in and they would be able to get in all your accounts, but you just can't do that, right?
Ron, we're going to take only one more question because we've reached our time frame. So after this next question, we'll be ending the session.
Okay.
So I'm back. And you're right, when they rolled this out, I didn't understand. I used a 4-digit key to get into my computer, Microsoft 11. And I put that 4-digit key in there. So is my mistake that my PIN to get into my computer is the same as my key? Is that my mistake?
No, your key. So the 4-digit in Windows 11, the 4-digit number that you're putting in that it's asking you for is simply a PIN number for that machine. It's a code to get into the machine. It's not a security code or anything like that. It's only specific to that machine. Okay. It's not broadcast out. Nobody knows it. It's really to keep anyone else in your family from opening that computer up. It's not broadcast. It's not on the internet. No one can get that information. It's like a screensaver on your PC that just gives you that PIN code to access it. Okay. And that's all that is. The passkey sits on the computer in Microsoft in the hard drive on your computer. And that's where the passkey lives. And once you've identified who you are by putting that PIN in, it says, hey, I know it's Ron Brown. It's Ron that's logging in because he's got the right PIN number. And then, of course, it then says, okay, you're the right person. And it then generates the passkeys to log you into the Microsoft account. And that's exactly what you do. The passkeys logging you right into your Microsoft account. And Windows 11 comes up and you're away to go.
Well, thank you very much, Ron, for a very informative presentation.
I think Ron can hear you.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, have me back. Say hello to Huey. If you see him down there, say, hey, we had Ron Brown here the other day, and that'll be fun. I think he was coming up in May. So if you could do one thing for me, say, oh, Ron Brown gave this really great talk. Are you going to do as good? And come and see our show. Come and see our show. Come and visit our show. Look at some of the stuff. It's all on our website, www.techforsenior.com. It's all there. You can watch our show. Come and see us. We have lots of fun, lots of resources for you. It's a good time.
Thank you, Ron. We really appreciate it.